The 2-camera trick helps a lot. But like before with our old setup and only using 3 cameras, like it was not great sometimes. We've also gotten better about just checking that you can see everything. Like that's why we always, whoever's running vicon during the data collection, like every time before you start the trial, you look on the computer to make sure you can see, and that helps too. So if people are paying attention, it helps. It helps later on. Okay, so we have labeled, we have saved just to be safe. And also saving it will have this stuff show up here. All right, so we have a floor marker missing at some point. That's kind of weird. All right, so what you can do from here is just start going through these gaps. So click on the first one. Floor marker. I think we can try to, let's see if this works for the floor marker. I wouldn't worry so much about, but okay, so it's predicting that. Seems to be pretty good, so you can fill that. So I just picked 3 that is near that.
Yeah.
It should be fine. We can make sure if it does anything weird. Let me just see what that did. Oh yeah, no. See if you watch it, it's like moving around. Yeah. I wouldn't even, I'm gonna go back and undo all that. So for that, because they're on the side, I wouldn't even deal with that because there's no way to really, it's kind of a weird marker to fill a gap for. Sometimes it works, but as you can see, it was going like that with the floor, and we probably don't want that. So for that, we'll just leave that as a gap. So I would just move on.
So it's not important to have a gap on the floor one?
No, we don't have to have, we didn't used to have those. We added them because it helps some of the later on processing just to identify the floor.
Yeah.
As you can see, it seems to be missing before they even really come into frame for the most part. So like, I think it's okay that we don't have it for right there. Since I tried to fill that and it made it weird, I would just leave it as a gap. In that case, it's kind of a special case. Typically that does not happen. I don't know. Oh. Typically you can see the floor markers. I don't know. Maybe just them passing in front of it did that. Okay, so we're gonna skip over the floor marker because I don't think there's anything we can do about that in this particular case. Again, like I said, sometimes doing what I just did, trying to fill with some markers, it'll fix it. It did not seem to do that.
So the next one.
Okay, so the next one is the ankle. Now, okay, so this is a gap. It's saying there's a gap, and there is, and if we can fill it, we're going to. As you can see, this is when they're almost to the edge. So like, realistically, we're probably not gonna be able to use this frame in our analysis because there are so many markers missing. But we'll go ahead and fill it just to see if it might help. So this was the left ankle. So I picked the left toe, left heel, and the left lower leg to fill it. And it seems like, again, if you ever click on things and this does not, it's like grayed out like that, that means you can't use whatever markers you picked and you have to pick something else. And sometimes that does happen. Hasn't happened yet, but fill. Okay, so this is an example where it says there's a gap, but there's nothing to fill. But honestly, there's not really much nearby. And this is so far towards the end of the trial that I would just leave that. Mm-hmm. So for a lot of these overground, you are gonna have gaps still when you finish. It's just about decreasing them as much as possible. But like for here, I wouldn't do anything with that. So we're done with the ankle. All right, so left ear. All right, this one, I think we could probably, okay, so for this, I'm gonna try using 1, 2, 3, because as you can see, this one's also not labeled, so we'll have to deal with that later. So
why it is not labeled? Because
sometimes so certain markers, even though we've labeled it, it might not detect it for all the frames. So like, I'm guessing at some point it's gonna have a right ear, and we'll go back and fix that. Either fill in the gap or just try relabeling it and see which one. Mm-hmm. But it just happens. It's not perfect.
But it is not considered as a gap.
I think it would. Yeah, it'll consider that as a gap. So when we get to that one, okay, I'll show you. It'll show up as a gap. But then hopefully we can just relabel it and fix it that way. No. If not, we can fill the gap. There's a lot of, like, as you can see, like, it's very, like, there are so many different situations that it just takes, like, doing this and trying different things. Like, I mean, I know how to fix this because I have just done
Billion times.
thousands of these probably. So like, I can quickly be like, oh, I should do this. Like, it'll just take time. And like, it's normal the more you practice it.
Okay.
And it takes a long time. So especially overground walking, it's normal for it to take a long time. So don't feel like you're slow. I was very slow. I sometimes am still slow. It takes a long time. Okay, but we're gonna try to fill this left ear gap. So 1, 2, 3, looks good. Fill. Okay, but the second one, again, there's like nothing. So again, I would just leave that because if we don't have everything labeled in a frame, we cannot use that for our analysis. It'll just kind of be bad data.
So we cannot use this subject.
We can use the subject, just we will use the middle part of, so typically for overground walking, we look at about at least 4, ideally more steps in the middle for the analysis. The stuff at the very beginning and the very end, which this thing that I think it was just showing us like that, I mean, we
cannot.
We can't, I mean, there's nothing there. We need the markers to get any kind of information. So it's normal, again, for overground walking, that the very beginning, the very end would just kind of be like, blah, like not very much to look at. And if you see it, if it tells you a gap, like this one, ignore it because there's nothing, that's at the very, very end of the trial. And it'll also, when you click on the gap, it'll show you where in the trial it is. So this is like beginning, end. As you can see, it's the very, very end. So I just wouldn't worry about that. Okay, so elbow. Let's see. Okay, so this is the very beginning of the trial.
Very beginning or very ending?
This is the very beginning. So yeah, so this is so this blue highlight is where this frame is, or where this gap is. Honestly, right here, I would skip this one because there's nothing there. So if you have a gap at the beginning that you want to skip to the next one, you click this arrow here. So we're going to leave this one alone and go to next gap and see. We could try to do something here because we have a few more markers. Again, realistically, we're probably not going to end up with all of them, but we can try. And sometimes it helps. So I would, again, this is the left elbow that's missing.
Yeah.
Ideally, we would use other things on the same side of the body.
What do you do?
Let's just try the 3 closest ones, and that looks like it probably, and also just like look at where it predicts, and if for some reason it's like saying it's out here, obviously that's not right, and don't fill it. But that looks like that's probably where the elbow is, so we can fill that. Okay, so we can fill all of those. Okay. Okay, and then when you get to the end of the gaps, it'll make this big blue thing for some reason. So that's kind of how you know you're done with that one. So this still says 1 gap for the elbow because as you remember, that very first one, there wasn't anything to put in here, so we just skipped it. But we managed to get some of them. Go ahead.
No.
Okay. It's I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
So if it is before this 100, it is the very beginning.
Well, not necessarily. Oh yeah, like yes, this is always the beginning and this is always the end. Yes. In terms of like a number cutoff, it just depends on how long the recording is, when they started walking. Like for example, if we started the recording and for some reason they didn't walk if they were delayed, the actual like where they start walking could be here, just depending on when it is. But this will always be the very beginning and this will always be the very end. But in terms of like, if you're looking for like a number to say like, you can't do that, sorry. Okay, so we finished the elbow. Question.
The next one is left great throat.
Yes. So this might be good for showing pattern fill. Okay.
All of the gaps are on the left side.
Well, so it does them in an order. So it goes through like I think it's alphabetical. So all the L's will be first, and I'm sure we have some on the right, but yeah, you're like, man, their left side is messed up.
Okay.
Okay. So here's another example. This is the left GT, the left hip marker.
Yeah.
It's missing.
We select
Towards the beginning of the trial. So again, because we cannot see very much. Like we could try, so this would be an example if we had as you can see, the right hip marker is also missing.
Mm.
If that right hip marker were here, what I would suggest doing is try to fill using 1, 2, 3, and then click on pattern. Hopefully later on I can show you an example of that, because then you can kind of use the two of those, and if they line up, then you can safely know that's a good prediction. The hip markers just get kind of wonky sometimes, so like it's good to always check them with this pattern fill. Hopefully there'll be an example later on. For this, I would not bother filling this because again, it's the very beginning. There's barely anything there. I would skip it. So next gap. Probably the same thing with this. Mostly because you don't have that right hip to compare to, and if we tried to fill it based on these three,
It's not.
It's not as, I mean, it's just good to check it so that it doesn't do something weird.
So you said we skipped some fill because gaps because we were on the very beginning of the process. In which points is it important for us to not skipping?
So
Exactly.
So when it gets to be, when you start to see nearly everything, so like there will be like a first step. So like right around, like around here, it would probably be worth it to start filling things in, just because like sometimes when you fill in one thing, then you can use that to fill in something else. But until you start to see like, at least I'd say like 60-75% of the markers, like it's not, we're not gonna be able to use anything. Because even like we're very concerned with like the feet, like touchdown, lift off, stuff like that. So like around, like I'm sure we'll have to fill those in later. So actually around here might be the first like usable step that we have. Like later when I teach you step time, you'll understand why that's important.
So before the first step, it is better to not check the gaps because.
I mean, you'll want to check all the gaps just to make sure. Because like I said, sometimes filling things in does help down the road. But sometimes, like if it looks like this, like it's, I mean, to me, there's no point in trying to do that. But like, do go through and look at all of them. It takes a long time.
Yeah.